What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the best books that I've read so far here in 2020. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'm gonna pull up my Goodreads because I honestly have not prepared for this. We're gonna just go and see like what books I read and which ones I absolutely loved for this year. This one I read in January, and this is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. I love this book so much. I think it is my favorite book of the year, and it also is like in my all-time favorite list like forever. This is not a book for everybody. It is a very hard topic, and it's about a young girl. If I am mistaken, I think it's when she was 8 is when the story starts, and about this older guy, like 20s, I think. But this book, it doesn't revolve around a relationship when she's that young. Obviously it is when she's older, but not quite old enough yet. And so the main character, Wavy, comes from a very hard life, family, drugs, no one cares about her, and then this guy befriends her, and over the storyline they fall in love. And so it is a very hard topic to talk about. I'm not saying that I agree with what's happening in the book. I just saw the emotion, the heartbreak, and it's just a wonderful story. I actually have a spoiler vlog for it, which I'll link up above for you guys. My goal is to finish the rest of this book, so I was almost halfway. All the Ugly and Wonderful Things is about an 8-year-old girl in the beginning and a 24-year-old man. This is all in the beginning of the book. I just love it so much because you know that things like this happen. The author actually wrote it kind of based off of her own life, which made me really appreciate the story even more. And so it was just like a really eye-opening book, and I don't know, I just love it. I love those like really deep emotional books. You guys should already know that about me. Okay, the next book that I read, and I rated it 4 stars, was The Long Walk by Stephen King. And actually going back, I almost feel like I would rate this a little bit higher, just from like all the books that I've read this year. I feel like The Long Walk could have gotten like a 4.5 star from me now, but I also have a spoiler vlog for it in case you guys have already read it and you want to like watch my spoiler vlog. What? I don't get it. So The Long Walk is a crazy dystopian book, but this was definitely one of the most disturbing books that I've read this year, and it revolves this like kind of dystopian world where all of these boys, I think it's like during a certain age, every year when they hit this age they go on this walk, and it's whatever boy is left standing at the end, and like there's no breaks. It's a very mental type of book. I don't know, I was literally like disgusted and like filled with horror like reading this, because it seems like something that could, you know, obviously happen. It's not like ghosts or spooky things. And just like the level of like, I don't know, like mental capacity that these like boys had to like give themselves to like keep walking, because as soon as you stop walking and you have like a certain amount of warnings, like you die. So it's either like you're gonna die or you're gonna die. There's only one boy left standing at the end. And obviously there's a lot of different like talk about like, why did Stephen King write a book like that? And I was, you know, at the end of the book I was kind of like, you know, this is weird. Like, why would these boys even want to go on a long walk? But I think that what people have said is that he wrote it because like that's how war is. Like you literally are, you know, going to war and, you know, kind of sacrificing yourself to do that. So I don't know, it's a really cool concept. Again, I do recommend you guys reading it if you haven't yet. It's one of the shorter Stephen King books. I think it was only like 200 some pages, maybe 300 pages. But yeah, it's one of the best horror like that I think I've read, actually, that actually was legit horror. Like I was like filled with anxiety, you know what I mean? Okay, next up is Behind Every Lie by Christina McDonald. This is the second book that I've read by Christina McDonald, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Now I will say that you know, I did see some of the twist coming in this thriller, but Christina McDonald writes really, really, really good, like mother-daughter relationship type of emotional thrillers. And so that's what I really appreciated, is the fact that like this isn't like, you know, the darkest thriller ever, which, I mean, you guys know I love dark thrillers, but I also just really love the attention that she puts into writing her book. I would definitely say that, like, of all the thrillers that I've read, Christina McDonald writes some of the most like relatable characters where you're not like hating them to death, you know. Normally in thrillers I don't really like characters, but with hers I feel like a connection to them. This book is about a daughter who was struck by lightning, and when she wakes up she realizes that she murdered her mother, or like thinks that she murdered her mother, but she doesn't have any concept of that time, and so she's trying to clear her name because, like, you know, why would she even do that? But while she's like clearing her name, she finds secrets and all this kind of stuff. So if you guys love like more character driven thrillers, then I would definitely check this one out. Okay, a 5-star read. I read this in March for the Backlist Readathon. I am still loving this. Like, I almost was not paying attention to like how long my break was because I was so into this book and reading it, and I literally cannot wait to wake up in the morning tomorrow and read the rest of the book. It is the Bromance book club, and it is one of my favorites of the year. I absolutely loved it because it's like this emotional but also funny romance about a married couple, and what happens is we kind of find out that their communication hasn't been that great. Apparently the wife has been faking the O this whole time, and once she like tells her husband or he finds out, then like that creates a really big blockage kind of in their marriage, and so they end up like separating, and the book is about him trying to win his wife back, which like I really appreciate. I loved it so much. I wish that there were more like romance books written about married couples, because I mean, you know, you don't just get married and then all of a sudden everything is rainbows and unicorns and stuff. And so I really loved it. I think that everybody should read it. I've not met very many people that didn't like it, so it's definitely like a crowd pleaser, I think. I definitely think you would like appreciate it more if you were married, because you'd be like, yeah, we fight over the stupidest stuff, like that's actually true. Then we have The Last VS Parish by Liv Constantine. Now, I have said before that if you liked Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, you would probably like The Last Mrs. Parish. Now, I wouldn't read those two very close together because then it would probably feel a little bit repetitive. I've seen some people read them very close together and they didn't like them, or they appreciated the first one, not the second one, but I've read them obviously years apart. But this book is about this lady who doesn't have very much, you know, doesn't really have her life together, and she befriends this other lady who seems to have her whole life together, you know, like she has the body, the looks, the husband, she's rich and all that kind of stuff. And so the lady that doesn't have anything starts kind of like turning herself into that lady. But anyway, it's really good, very thrilling. I actually listened to it on audiobook, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of, and I was in my car, like I was going to work, and I hated when I had to get to work because I really just wanted to listen to it. I was like, this is so thrilling, I want to know what happens. So I hope you guys really like that book. All right, so we have a graphic novel next. This is A Quiet Girl in a Noisy World, which is the first graphic novel I have ever read, and I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend to any type of readers or introverts. It was just so incredibly relatable, like as a more introverted person, and I just like, I was flipping through the pages, and like every page I just wanted to like send to my husband, send to all my friends, and be like, this is me, like this is me.
That is so me, and that is so Alvin. Oh, perfect date night. I think this girl is my spirit animal. Guys, I've never related to a character so hard before. That's me.
And so I absolutely loved it, and the artwork is just beautiful. And I actually have a couple more Debbie Tung books that I got, like graphic novels, so I'm really excited to read those and let you guys know how they are. But I highly recommend this one if you guys can somehow get it some way. Okay, the next book is Saving Megan, and this one I got 4 stars. But this is about Munchausen syndrome by proxy, like that, which I am like obsessed with reading about that because it like blows my mind. And so if you've already read Darling Rose Gold, you might actually really like this book, or if you've watched The Act on Hulu, which is about like that Gypsy Rose case, then you probably would like this book too, because it's kind of not really the same concept, but like kind of, you know. This book is about a daughter who's been sick for the majority of her life, and her parents keep taking her to the doctor to see like what's wrong, and they can't figure out what's wrong. And her mother, we actually find out that like her mother's mother did the same thing to her mom and would like have her lie about medications and stuff like that in order to get those medications. So you go through the story wondering if like that's what the mom is doing, because like that's how she grew up, so that's how her mindset is. I really loved this book until it got to the end. I thought the end was gonna be totally different than it was, so I couldn't rate this book a full 5 stars, but I enjoyed this book so much. Like the reading enjoyment was just absolutely amazing. I thought it was super well done until I was upset about the ending. So if you guys like those types of like thrillers, I guess it's a thriller, but if you like those types of books, then you should definitely check this one out. Okay, next up I have What Lies Between Us, and this one I ended up giving 4 stars. And it's a very dark thriller. So going into it, there are tons of trigger warnings. I ended up really liking it, except for some of parts of the book seemed like really unrealistic to me. So it was just like hard for me to fully, you know, like give it a 5-star rating because of the fact that I didn't see some of the things that happened actually happening. And the ending was ambiguous, but it just didn't have like the like oof that I wanted. Like it wasn't just like, you know, bang, wow, this is like a fantastic thriller type of thing. So definitely think if you like dark thrillers, you should check it out. And of course, if you like ambiguous endings, my sister read it and like she loved it. Like she has loved every single John Mars book ever. So I know that there's definitely people that like loved this book. I think it's just because I've read so many thrillers that it just wasn't like, you know, it just wasn't like quite up there, but it was definitely totally worth the read. Okay, next up is the Roanoke Girls, which you guys already know I have raved about so much. If you like cult books that are very messed up, trigger warnings in this, then you should read this. This is a 5-star rating, one of my favorite books of the year. I went into this not really knowing much about it.
It had me like so sick, like reading about this. I love books that bring out like a lot of emotion, and this book is so dark and disturbing that like I didn't know, like I just wanted to read more and more, but I also wanted to like throw up all at the same time. And I literally was like so anxious while reading it, and I could not believe that the story, like, it's not that I want to read those types of stories, like I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love this so much. It's just like, I can't believe that things like this happen. So I think that's why I'm just like enthralled when I'm reading it. But super dark, and I have a whole like reading vlog for it because I was reading you guys' favorite thrillers and someone told me to read it, which is why. So I'll link that vlog up there for you guys if you haven't checked it out yet. But I talk more about this book in that vlog because I picked it up because you guys asked me to, and whoa, it was good. Okay, we're moving a little bit because of the sun coming in. Okay, next up is The Grace Year, which I ended up giving 4 stars, maybe 4.5. 4 stars. I do have a spoiler vlog for this, so I will link it up here. Okay, so I'm on page 34, and I'm actually really liking this book so far.
I feel like I've said that a lot, which is really good because that means that I've read some really good books in my spoiler vlogs. But this book is a YA dystopian type of book. So if you like Maze Runner or The Hunger Games or The Handmaid's Tale, then you would probably like this book. And I thought it was super interesting, like the whole dystopian thing. And it's about like these girls when they hit a certain age to go like out into this like, I don't know, it's like in the forest or whatever. They have like a little village or camp or something like that for them, and they have to live there for a whole year. And there's like, I don't know, like weird things happen that I obviously don't want to tell you guys in here because it's part of the book. But anyway, their life is like in danger. Some of them don't all make it back. And so if you like those types of books, definitely pick it up. I did really like it, except there was like a romance part in it, which I thought was unnecessary. So that's why it didn't get a full 5 stars for me. Okay, next we have Una Out of Order, which I gave 4.5 stars. Now this book originally, when I read it, I only gave it 4 stars, but then after sitting on it, I bumped up my rating to 4.5. Now this is a like time travel or alternate reality book. and you guys know I love those. And it's about this girl, Una, who when she turns 19, she like, her life like is out of order, so it time travels her to a different year. So she like will time travel to like, and she doesn't get to pick, she just like will go to like, she'll wake up and it'll be like 2003, and like she was 19 years old, but now in her life she might be 50 years old, but she's still like 19 in her head or whatever. But then after she lives that year, then the next year she wakes up, it could be 1992 or something like that. So that concept, it was a little confusing at first when I was reading it because I didn't quite understand what was going on, but the characters in this book are absolutely amazing. Like, I got so attached to them, and after finishing this book I could not stop thinking about the characters, and like even to this day I still think about Una and like how cool the book's concept was. So I don't know, like maybe I should have given it 5 stars. I just know that there were a couple just boring parts in it, so that's why I didn't give it a full 5 stars. But if you like those concepts, like there's different pop culture references in it, and there's like emotion in it, like it's actually really heartbreaking. And so yeah, I would totally reread it probably in the future. Like give me like 10 years probably, because I'm not a rereader, but I don't know, it was really good and I would love to see it adapted into a movie. Okay, next up is the life-changing manga of Tidying Up. You guys already should know Marie Kondo and like her, you know, life-changing magic of tidying up series. This was the manga for it, and it was really great because of, obviously it had pictures of how to fold and all that kind of stuff, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I think it's absolutely amazing. I think you should pick it up because it was easier to read than like the actual book, and you still learned like everything from it. Plus I changed over all my clothes. I now fold the Marie Kondo way, so it has definitely made an impact on my life. Okay, next we have If I Never Met You, and I actually read this for Romanceathon. It was our buddy read, and I did not expect to like it as much. Hello everybody, so welcome to, this is the last day of Romanceathon, and I know it is like the evening now, but I waited until I finished this book before I like updated you guys. I know a lot of people who didn't actually like this book, and I didn't like it at first because it's actually like British and Irish, so it's like 2 different things written together, and it was really hard for me to understand. But instead I listened to the audiobook and read the physical book at the same time, and I ended up really liking it then because I like kind of got to know the characters a lot better with like understanding like what was going on. But I also really enjoyed that these characters were older. This is about a girl who, I think she's like 36, she's like 36 or 38, and she has been in a relationship with the same guy for 18 years. And this like all starts out in the beginning where like they had a conversation, I guess, about her getting off the pill. So she like brings it up again about how like she wants to get off the pill and finally start having kids. And he has like a crisis. Like he's like, I don't like you anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. And so they break up, which is like super devastating to think that you've been in a relationship that long. Anyway, literally just a couple months later, he already is in another relationship and the girl's pregnant. And so that like really hurts Lori, like who's the main character. And then it turns into like a fake dating trope with somebody in her office. I just like thought that it was written really well, like with the adult characters, with those more mature like storylines, which I mean I really like. I know that some people kind of thought it was a little like bland and boring, so I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. But I think that if you are older and you like reading more character-driven books, and you're not just like reading the romance books for like the smut and stuff like that, which I'm not, I like emotional books instead, then I do think that you should pick this one up and try it out. Another graphic novel that I loved was Heartstopper Volume 1. I really liked this book. It is very, very cute. It's about these like 2 boys. I think they're in high school or middle school. I'm not sure. I didn't go to school. I don't know what ages you are to be in whatever. But anyway, it's how like they are falling in love. I don't want to give away the story because like that's kind of the whole premise. And so anyway, it was just like really, really cute. And I recently found that the rest of the series is free online. So I'm totally gonna read the rest of the series very soon because it was just so wholesome and so cute. Okay, now we have another one of my favorite books of the year. This is The Idea of You, and I loved this. I picked this up for Romanceathon. This was a really, really, really good book. 5 stars.
Oh my gosh. Everything I have ever wanted in a book was in this one.
And so many people had told me to read it, and I don't know why, I just didn't believe you guys at first. Like, I didn't pick it up for so long. Next time I need to actually like listen to you guys and read the books right away. But this is a forbidden romance. It's an age gap romance, but the woman is older than the boy. Like, the boy is like 20 years old and then the woman is 39, 38, something like that. Well, anyway, the boy is actually in a boy band, so he's very popular, and the lady, like, she does start a relationship with him, but there's so much that goes into obviously an age gap romance with the female being older. Plus, with him being famous, she received a lot of hate on social media and in real life. And she also had to worry about, like, she has a 12-year-old daughter. And so there was so much that went into this story. Like, sure, there's some, you know, angst, there's some romance, but there's also just like, it's real life. You know, the story is absolutely real life, and that's what I loved about it. It was emotional. It had such a good like point to it, story to it. I highly recommend. I wish more people would read this book. And oh my gosh, Robin Lee's writing is so good, and I am so upset that she doesn't have more books written. Like, I just wanted to read every single one of her books as soon as I finished with this one. And so, oh my gosh, like, I just need more from this author. Like, I need it in my life. It's so good. Okay, another book that I really enjoyed this year was the guest list. I know that I couldn't believe I liked this because obviously it's been very hyped, and you guys know that I don't usually like the hyped books, but this one was actually a really good story to me. This is about like a wedding that is happening on this like remote Irish island, and a bunch of guests like are on this island, and somebody ends up murdered, and you're like reading to figure out like who is the murderer. I actually have a live show about it if you guys want to hear like more of my thoughts, but also with spoilers.
We ended up reading, I always like, it's like we kind of buddy read it, but not really, because I always like to like hear people's thoughts fresh. So like we read the guest list. Where's my camera? Here. The guest list, but get the guest list. The guest list by Rucy Frawley. No.
And so I will link it up there for you guys. It's with Zoe from Zoe Reads. She did the live show with me, and we both ended up like kind of really liking it. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. And I mean, sure, there were like some problems in it or whatever, but I thought it was really good. It was very atmospheric, which I thought was really great, and I flew through it. It wasn't like too long, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Big Little Lies, where you're kind of reading from these different perspectives, because I think you're reading from 5 different perspectives. And so liked that. It was very good. I highly recommend that one. Okay, last but not least, we have one more book left, and it is Suffer the Children, and this is a horror slash zombie slash vampire book. And I know it sounds so weird, and I did not think that I was gonna like this when I picked it up. I actually picked it up for a Booktubers and Brews live show, which I'll link up down. I don't know how many cards I have left, but it'll be, all the links I talked about will be down below. But anyway, we ended up all like really liking this. I gave it 4 stars, and it was really creepy. It was about this disease that like went all over the whole world. All of the children died, and then they all came back to life again. And what I liked about it is the like, I love books with underlying messages, but anyway, the underlying message of, as a parent, when your child comes back to life and they're not human, are you, like, what would you do with them? You know what I mean? Like, are you able to kill them if they're not actually like, you know, acting normal? And so that's like what you know, I was kind of thinking about the whole book. I was like, this is so crazy. What would I do in this situation? So it is a scary book to me, like obviously thinking about that. Obviously you might not want to read it during the pandemic if that will give you anxiety. Like you know, it does kind of hit close to that. But if you love horror, I think you should definitely pick it up, because I was like pleasantly surprised. That's it, you guys. That is all of the books that I like rated 4 to 5 stars that I actually really liked this year. So I hope you guys check them out. And if you agree with my ratings, of course, you can drop a comment down below. Or if you want to recommend me some books, I would love to have books recommended to me down in the comments. Like, after you guys heard what books I like, obviously, you can recommend me a book, and then if I have it, or if I can pick it up at the library, I will try and get to it by the end of the year, so that way I can let you guys know, because obviously you guys told me to read some of these and they were ones that I actually really liked. So maybe you guys know me better than I know myself. I have no clue. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in next Saturday's video. Bye everyone.